Great way to play it. Or maybe it's actually terrible. Doesn't matter, because we're not going to be seeing it in this matchup. We're going to be starting down here on top of the red Protoss player who likes to play it a lot more by the book. He is big, but also he's on team big. It's ShoWTimE. Actually had to get him a larger camera that was further back because his muscles took up the entire camera when we try to put him in a normal position.
And at the top left-hand side, he is 60% liquid, but he's also in Team Liquid. It is Clem. I think human beings are 60% water, right? Maybe more than 60%.
I actually think it's like 80 or something, 80 or 85. Yeah.
It's high at least. Well, at least 60. Oh, quick block here.
Oh, it's 60. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Today I learned math on stream with follow cats.
I'm not sure that's much math. I just knew the number 60.
Okay.
No processing
Biology
required.
on stream.
Oh man, I hate this. Ugh. As a Protoss player, when I have to put my Nexus somewhere else, Ravi, I feel so bad. And if you're Clem right now, oh my god, like imagine defending two Nexi that are separate from each other without any wall-ups to work with against Clem, right? I already feel so shaky for ShoWTimE. I hope that Clem does something to abuse the fact that these bases are so far apart from each other and that there is no real, way to block that third. I would love to see Hellions.
You know, I was gonna leave that up and say I agree with you, Cats, and I feel like one thing that's even worse is that on this map, that third base location is where the Reaper hop-up cliff is, which makes it even more awkward because then the Reaper retreats out and just goes after any probes mining on the low ground if like things are happening there or like being annoying. But yeah, it's actually not even a Reaper opening, not to mention there is a wall and everything there now, so I'm not actually sure how you super hyper abuse this outside of your opponent has to like transfer their workers. The Hellion opening actually is a really nice way to do that. That's actually a good one.
Yeah, I really like Hellions. I mean, it's going to be difficult to obviously defend at both areas if you are ShoWTimE, and there's going to be probes exposed at that third, which is what Clem anticipates. So I think this is a brilliant opening to take advantage of this. We'll see if ShoWTimE is able to mitigate damage. Obviously, he's been in this situation before, and he's deemed it good enough that he can take this Nexus. I'm just not sure if, Clem is the type of person that's not going to punish it. Seems hard to believe.
Yeah, definitely going to need some really on-point control over here from ShoWTimE in order to defend against whatever aggression comes his way. Now, the Adepts making their way across the map are going to be able to potentially get some early scouting information. They're going to shade on forward, and they will run past those Hellions, even as Clem starts to move them around. They definitely get spotted. Going to be able to delay the National Command Center a little bit as well. Gets two SCVs, continues to delay this. He's going to lose his Adepts in exchange, but I'd actually say, that's a really nice denial for a bit.
Yeah, I do love what ShoWTimE is doing here with the shield battery. I mean, that's an extra investment maybe compared to a normal game, but it's a very well-warranted investment for the Hellions that are coming up. However, 4 Hellions is one more Hellion than you need to one-shot probes. If one more Hellion dies, though, he's not going to be able to one-shot probes anymore, and then the shield battery will be extremely effective, so he has to be really careful. I'm surprised he traded that one Hellion instead of just going for the probes right away, honestly.
Yeah, I think he was expecting that, if there was an Oracle, it would have been moving across the map or something, but no, just having that defensively is going to put him in a nice spot. Oracle's out of energy now, though, so he does need another follow-up unit. Adept is going to be there, but it's actually the Phoenix that's going to allow him to lift up one of these Hellions, take it out.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful job by ShoWTimE as well, identifying that 3 Hellions will still one-shot the probes. He clicks very diligently onto the Hellion that's weakest with the Adept. So he was trying on 2 different fronts to stop, all 3 Hellions from firing at once with the Phoenix and the Adept. Well done.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I'd say taking 3 worker losses is pretty reasonable, especially considering he had to take that forward Nexus. That was a little bit of a worry point, but now he's going to be in a situation where we're getting to the point in the game. A lot of pro players are thinking about taking their third base anyway, so he can just take his natural, and yeah, the game will kind of start balancing out to a more normal location.
Yeah, honestly, a great defense by ShoWTimE. I mean, he's the wolf for a reason, I suppose, and even the Stargate location is really nice for that third. So the Phoenix, you know, was as prompt as it could have been as well on the defense there. And now he's in a pretty decent position now, taking his natural base where he already has a well-established third up at the front. So I like it. I like ShoWTimE's position. However, Clem is at least faking a move out. I'm not sure if this is a real move. It looks extremely dangerous if it is, given the amount of Phoenix out there.
Yeah, I mean, remember that there's also a Revelation that was tagging all of these units, so ShoWTimE recognizes, okay, well, one of your medevacs is a little bit further out. Does a lot of damage to that.
Yeah, and I mean, these units have to retreat from Clem, obviously, as they are, because that always had to be the plan, right? Like, there's no way you push into that many Phoenix with this Mislian army at this point. So Clem is falling actually further and further behind as his pokes have not really worked out. That said, ShoWTimE dropped the ball a little bit on pro production, I want to say, because he already had carved a little bit bigger of an advantage. And Clem is catching up in terms of bases by dropping that command center on location.
Yeah, he will eventually be able to get up that triple SCV production as well, but yeah, I still really like a lot about ShoWTimE's position. These Oracle Revelations have been great as well, and he's still got that Oracle. It's not just like an Oracle that's been taking a lot of damage here and there as it gets these Revelations. It's at full health. It's got most of its shields as well at the same time. Like, he can keep perfect eyes on the army of Clem.
Beautiful job by Clem, finding the area that is not well protected. There's 2 shield batteries at the third, but none here. The Colossus, however, is going to pop up, and I think this is perfect timing from ShoWTimE. I was staring at that Colossus. He does not have the thermal lance just yet, but what he has is going to be enough for the time being, and these are nice pickups as well.
Yeah, he gets actually 2 of the Phoenix there with those Widow Mines. So that is a nice couple of pickups on those Phoenix, but I think Medevac went down earlier on with the other 2 Widow Mines, and now we end up seeing that this army drops on forward to the third base. Not gonna be able to find more damage though.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I'm feeling here. I think ShoWTimE has done overall a very good job defending, and that Colossus was really clutch. So I think it's Clem that needs to do a little bit of catching up.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. There aren't too many Phoenix left over from that Widow Mine drop that got intercepted, and Phoenix actually dying really did hurt that Phoenix count, but, well, I think at this point, ShoWTimE is ready to just make that full transition over. It's going to be kind of a question of like where that engagement happens, when it happens, and how that Viking Colossus interaction is going to be going, especially since I don't think there's actually too many Stalkers out on the map just yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not going to be going too well for ShoWTimE. I think this is such a cool commitment by Clem. If we can look at his main base, this is so unusual to have 2 starports with 2 reactors as fast as he has, producing Vikings for as long as he has been. I don't think that ShoWTimE is aware of this. And if he doesn't get a hefty number of Stalkers, those Colossi are going to melt. And those Vikings landed, they're still powerful.
Especially versus the mechanical units, right? So, well, ShoWTimE is adding on the Templar Archives. He is going to start thinking about his other transition points, and is actually going and adding on an Immortal instead of additional Colossus. Kind of an interesting move. I feel like usually we end up seeing like Disruptors or something coming on out if you're thinking about other units to be adding in, but looks like for now, it's just going to be those High Templars, and actually not even going to be saving up for Storm or anything, just adding on straight up Archons.
Yeah, I think Disruptors are kind of difficult to work with when you have charge lots as well, because a lot of the time, you know, you have to micro against yourself in that sense, because the charge lots will charge forward. And if you want to use your Disruptor shot, then it's also presumably going to be moving forward. But he's going for a Disruptor regardless, and we'll see what ends up happening here. I think these Vikings are going to be so strong from Clem, as this, I think, is the first sight of ShoWTimE of them. And these Colossi are going to fall quickly. Stalkers being warped in. There's only 2 Phoenix remaining, and here come the Vikings.
Yeah, 1 Phoenix remaining, 0 Phoenix remaining. Shield battery overcharge was immediately popped at the very beginning of all of this. Looks like that 4th base is most certainly not going to be going up during the middle of this fight.
Yeah, huge EMP landing onto everything. Both Colossi barely surviving. Now just 1 remains. And this is not going to connect. The Disruptor shot that is. I don't know if I ever see Disruptor shots connect against Clem, though. He just seems to be like the absolute best that it's bleeding against them.
He is incredible at dodging those Disruptor shots, but I think it's still important to have. It's a nice way to also push back the Ghosts, especially, and kind of pick them off from a nice distance away, since the Colossus can't really do it quite as well when there's this many Vikings in the air.
Yeah, there is just so many. And Clem has to be trying to look to get position where he's gonna maybe catch those Colossi in the corners. Like if he can siege the Vikings near those rocks, that would be a very, very good position to make it difficult for those Colossi to join the rest of his army. He's looking for some rocks and some angles here to where the Vikings can be in this kind of neutral area where there's no real ground to stand below them. And it looks like Clem wants to commit. It's so difficult though. Those ghosts, they can't split as well as Marines.
Yeah, they do take a little bit longer without stim or anything available to them. Now, the Disruptors, I mean, they are just zoning out this army. I think there should be one more Disruptor shot available. ShoWTimE going to be losing his last Colossus to those Vikings, but the Viking camp has also been obliterated, so maybe something that ShoWTimE, after these next 2 Disruptors pop, can start thinking about remaking, but may just want to actually continue committing to this.
Yeah, it looks like he might want to indeed. I mean, there's still some EMPs to be dropped onto those Archons. Luckily, somehow, all of the army of ShoWTimE got EMP'd except for the 2 Archons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kind of catching a lucky break there. I guess the back didn't get EMP'd very much, and now there's going to be enhanced shockwaves finishing up for Clem.
Yeah, the one nice thing actually that sometimes gets overlooked when you talk about Disruptors and their value to the army for the Protoss is that you can get EMP'd and the Disruptors force your opponent's army, like large chunks of it, to basically just retreat or not attack. So you can get like a massive EMP landed on you, and then you kind of use the Disruptor as like this time buying mechanism to say like, no, back up, we're not fighting yet, I'm gonna get some time to recharge my shields.
Yeah, and good Disruptor shots here from ShoWTimE, but beautiful pickups to save some units from Clem. Really heads up play, and I'm completely with you, Ravi. The Disruptors don't necessarily have to land for them to be useful in other ways, though obviously you want to land some in order to get, to get enough value to justify them. But there is hidden value here and there in that they split the army up, and when the army is split as well, they do less DPS, right? Because there's less less army in certain areas. This is a huge doom drop on the side of Clem, but he's gonna find a base before he hits the main.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if he's gonna actually get to the base. All the Stalkers already here to intercept him. A blink back to keep these Stalkers alive while the Zealots charge on forward. And as the Disruptor army approaches, I think that Clem is gonna have to try and respect this. But, ShoWTimE actually sees some of the army moving on the north side. He decides to abandon that base, cancels that to deal with his army on the north. Wow. But now the dual drop into the main, is he going to have enough over here in the main to prepare for this?
Yeah, it's beautiful the way that ShoWTimE was set up because he already had charge slots charging into the first units and loading out of those medevacs, and he had a hefty number, so that was beautiful. He gets a really strong start to that fight. Good moves by Clem trying to split ShoWTimE in half by going to the 2 most far removed bases from each other, right? Like he's hitting the extreme so that it's difficult for ShoWTimE to react. But ShoWTimE has been brilliant on defense.
Absolutely, and he's also able to deflect this attack yet again, or at least push it back for now. And I feel like Clem, he's a momentum-based player. He wants the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 punches all back-to-back. Not a lot of breathing room for his opponent. That is when Clem really hits his stride. And I feel like ShoWTimE is doing such a great job as the wall deflecting a lot of these attacks, not just outright dying to these. And I feel like Clem is going to gradually start running out of steam. You can already see, like, just not having medevacs, for example, in the army, he's not really getting the time he needs to re-heal this army back up. It's slowing the pacing down.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Not enough medevacs remain on the side of Clem to continue to be as aggressive as he has been, but he is such an amazing player. I mean, the guy already has 4 bases well saturated, and he is also working towards the max upgrades, essentially. So he's not falling behind on most grounds. He's at 2-2, nearly maxed. This is still very much anyone's game, but yeah, it really feels like ShoWTimE has put up such a great defense so far.
Yeah, I think like a good way to put it is that I feel like most other Protoss players would hate this thing from Clem. Like it's impressive to get to this point versus Clem. It doesn't mean you won the game, but like, holy cow, you made it over the first couple hurdles.
Yeah, wow, you blocked a lot of punches, my friend. Good job.
Yeah.
Let's see if you can continue to do so, and then eventually maybe hit back with a defining punch yourself. This is a lot of Disruptors, many of them moving into Liberation Zones, into a widespread army from Clem, who gets a fantastic engagement. There are probes and SCVs falling as well, as there is a counterattack going on for ShoWTimE, but really, it's about this army.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of DTs are going to be able to do damage very quickly, but like you said, Cats, this is where everything is going to come down to. It's going to come down to this army that's going to have to go all the way to these destructor zones. Are you kidding me? Clem, are you human? Are you in Archon mode? Did you pair up with Raynor? How on earth did you manage that? What the actual hell just happened, Cats?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, ShoWTimE doing a great job at the same time with these DTs, and even just throwing those disruptor shots was a masterclass in doing exactly that. Multiple disruptor shots at the same time onto a Clem. That is not a mistake. He's just accounting for Clem potentially picking up disruptors to stop the shots otherwise. And it looks like ShoWTimE is kind of stabilizing. I look at the supply, Ravi, and it's not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, you see that ShoWTimE is up 73 workers to 39. That is something to keep in mind because remember, ShoWTimE did lose some of the mining bases and he's remaking another base right now. But if ShoWTimE is given even just 60 seconds, that worker differential is really going to start paying dividends and he just has to survive a little bit longer. And then Clem is going to start falling further and further behind.
Yes, indeed. This is such a great job and a great game so far from ShoWTimE. If we look at our army values, they're nearly matched. I think ShoWTimE is a little bit ahead even. Yeah, now he's well ahead, in fact. And economically, I think he's also taking a lead. If he can not take damage from this next 1 or 2 waves that Clem's going to throw at him, he will be in a winning position.
Absolutely. Oh, man, Phoenix getting started back up is actually a great response to like Liberator harassment. I really like that. Oh, a lot of disruptors over here on the closest side to the army, but they are just going to end up finding some really nice pickoffs with the Stalkers. Get every single one of the meta back. Liberator sieges up and is going to be able to at least buy a bit of time, but EMP comes out sniping off some of the DTs. Clem is really running dry on the ability to try and keep up with ShoWTimE's economy right now. He has to get something done soon.
Yes, indeed. Clem is on a ticking clock, not something that is a regular thing for him. I think he's used to being in control, and I feel like he's not right now. I feel like ShoWTimE kind of has this game well within his grasp. He's still trying to make do with these Dark Templars, and that's exactly what he needs to do. You don't relax right now. You pile on this pressure. Be careful, though, going down with the Stalkers. At the same time, the DTs are really doing the real damage, or never mind. They didn't do anything against this Planetary Fortress, and I think they even got taken down, not being paid attention to.
Yeah, you have to be really careful with them. I mean, DTs can do a lot, Cats, but there are a few things that they'll struggle against sometimes. Now, I think just those 3 DTs, it's still enough to put some nice pressure on, maybe over like that 3rd base location or 4th base, but
yeah.
Oh, disruptor shots coming out. Hit a massive chunk of the army and still have more coming out.
Yeah, Clem? That was such a huge one. Maybe Clem could have picked up some of those units up just because it's so difficult to split. You can't really split the ghosts as fast as you can the rest of your army. So really good disruptor shot from ShoWTimE. And I completely agree, Ravi. If he can actually... Oh, he will. He found it.
Yes. All right. Get in on top of that missile turret. All right, you know, okay, I can get on board the blink forward. The army's far enough out of position that he knows he has time to actually react, to get the DTs out of there. He's going to leave one back over here to force a scan and a reaction of maybe a missile turret or something. And the other DTs can just retreat and look for other places to do damage.
Yeah, and look at that. An EMP clears it. So ShoWTimE very smartly shoves one more DT and says, okay, well, keep doing that then. You know, like, or you have to scan, you have to make missile turrets. You can't just... And extra annoying as he hits on the other side. And now he's like, hey, who's out multitasking? Who?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these Zelts are going to be going down over here, but the disruptors are there as that anchor to fall back to. And the DTs saying, all right, you tried to land that base. No, you don't get to do that just right now. And you can just see the back and forth that Clem is being pulled from. And he's tried to get some damage done. We haven't quite caught as many glimpses of it, but like there's been Liberators running on him. There's been Medivac drops and stuff, but it's never ended up working out.
ShoWTimE has played such a brilliant game of StarCraft here, really looking like, you know, like on Clem's caliber at the very least. It's exactly above, actually, as far as this game is concerned. ShoWTimE has just played an impressive game of StarCraft, and GG will be called.
Absolutely amazing game out of there from both of those players. But ShoWTimE coming out ahead. The wall holds strong against the relentless aggression there of Clem. Even when it looked like the wall was crumbling, well, it's just because the wall was crumbling on the other side of the map. and Clem was losing his entire economy to the DT run by. And you know what? It's all relative, cats. If your wall looks like it's crumbling, as long as your wall is more upright than your opponent's, it's okay.
Yes, indeed, Ravi. And another thing to note, I really don't like to point to APMs unless they're kind of absurd, but this is so uncharacteristic for a Protoss player. And I don't mean to be insulting, just Protoss is not nearly as fast that, you don't have the repetition like Zerg has with just making multiple units at the same time and, like say corrosive piles. So there isn't those cheats as much for Protoss other than Warpins maybe. And ShoWTimE reached nearly 500 APM. That is 100 over Clem, which is just bananas.
Whenever I think about that kind of stuff, specifically with ShoWTimE, I think he is actually the most impressive player that way back, like I think a year and a half or something ago at this point, we actually got to see StarCraft events, a WCS event, with the Tobii eye tracker, so you could see how players are actually looking around on their map. And ShoWTimE will always stand out to me as this player that he would play with that, and you got to see his eye movements. And he is just one of the most hyperactive players when it comes to both his actions, but also just constantly checking the minimap. Like he was the guy that was checking the minimap every quarter of a second, like it felt like. Obviously, it was probably closer to like every 3/4 of a second. But that's how he stays so on top of all this harassment. That paired with the APM to actually deal with it and handle the multiple prong harassment, like that's why ShoWTimE is the wall. ShoWTimE earned that because he is so mechanically on top of things.
And it is not only just that, but strategically and tactically. I mean, like when you look at the Doom drop of Clem, it's not like he warped in units to be ready for that. He was already ready for that. He was already planning for that possibility, right? So really just overall a masterclass in defense here from the wall and turning to aggression and not slowing down on the aggression either, right? It's like he was everywhere that he needed to be and really pulling Clem apart, which you can't really say of many players in the world.
No, you really can't. It's beautiful to watch. It's honestly just one of those moments where, especially I'm of course biased as a Protoss player, but I look at that stuff and I'm just like, this is StarCraft. Like being able to handle the APM that your opponent is throwing at you in the multi-prong harassment, staying on top of things in so many different locations, but also having the strategic mastermind like plays to have your army pre-positioned for the attacks your opponent can throw at you. Like that is the strategic mastermind behind defensive play right there. That's ShoWTimE. I didn't realize that was the intro, but okay.
Really? I thought that was a great intro.
Okay, Cap, if you're not going to talk, and then I heard the music, I'm like, oh, that was the intro. I was just speaking my mind.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, I think that he is one of the best defenders, but one of the most aggressive people in the world would be, I think, Clem. And this is really one of the best defenses against one of the best offenses, I think, Ravi.
Yeah, the unbreakable shield versus the God, what was the saying? The spear that can pierce through anything.
Spear. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah. Where is that from? Where is it from?
I don't know. I think it's just like an old proverb-ish kind of thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, but that's pretty much what we got going here. So let's see. I mean, I imagine Clem is gonna somehow manage to punch back here. We're getting some other results there from this on the screen as Kung Fu Banda went up 2-0 against Aquaron, which I would say Aquaron is the player in that group that's maybe expected to lose to most. He could upset someone, but yeah, pretty cool for Kung Fu, so cementing his position.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely always a treat to see some of those younger, up-and-coming European talents that have been around for a little bit, but now starting to find better and better results. Like, always a pleasure to see that. I also just want to say, pretty cool. DreamHack has been experimenting, and of course, if you're on YouTube, you'll have no idea what we're talking about. But pretty cool. We've been seeing these polls and stuff coming on up. Be sure to vote in those. It's always good to see a little bit of that viewer engagement. Casters get to make their predictions about who's going to win. That's your chance. That's your chance to voice and say, yeah, you know what? I was right. I called it.
Yeah, my favorite was the one who knows more, Cyril or the Twitch chat. That was great. I'm not actually sure who won that poll. I was curious. Ooh.
Actually, I that's the one thing I don't know, because of course we're busy watching the game, so I only get to see it occasionally. I actually have no idea how to see who wins in those polls, or like what wins.
Yes, indeed. Clem looking a little bit frustrated there for a second. I love the starport because the bases are spread, right? So something like a Liberator could be extremely difficult to deal with, say in conjunction with Hellions or something of the sort. And a Liberator can jump between these two bases as well. Now, another thing to note is the base that ShoWTimE chose, very consistent with his strategy last time around as well, where, you know, he is blocking the Reaper path. Wow, this is a great snipe on the SC2, by the way.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
He's gonna catch wind of what Clem is doing, as well as far as army is concerned.
Yeah, and
but
look at that. These Hellions are actually so softened up as well. Like, one Hellion goes down. You were talking about the 3 Hellions minimum. Well, the other Hellion is in the red right now, Kat. And Clem kind of knows, like, this is a timing-based thing. Like, if you wait too long, your opponent's gonna have too many units. So he doesn't sit at home to repair. This is actually not working out so well so far for Clem.
Yeah, it's really not, but the medevac actually is going to be the choice, and he's going to be able to sneak into the main unannounced. It's still 3 Hellions, so if he gets some good lineups on the probes, that could be enough for Clem. The red Hellion leading, though, is not what he wants, and the shield battery finishes perfectly timed from ShoWTimE. And now let's not forget, this is not just the fact that, you know, oh, okay, like it just failed. That was a proxy starport as well. It's a starport that is now flying back to his base that doesn't have add-ons and doesn't have anything else to contribute for a little while.
Yeah, the Hellions are going to try and drop out yet again, but ShoWTimE is going to actually, wow, loses 7 workers so far. You know what? That's actually a lot more damage than I thought he would get done with that.
Yeah, I wonder what that was. That must have been a shot by the 3 Hellions remaining while they were still 3. Yeah, that's pretty good. He found the line that he was looking for essentially, but Clem looking a little bit frustrating here and there during this game. He's gonna look for another opening. And
yeah, nice focus fire from ShoWTimE. Takes out 2 of the Hellions that were low on hit points, and gonna be able to find one more with the Phoenix. Might actually be able to catch the last one with the energy he has.
Yeah, actually, I think he could have just left that first Phoenix to lift up the Hellion and chase after the second one, because the Adepts were under it anyway, so they would have killed it. But, you know, it's just 1 Hellion. It's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Well, regardless, the Phoenix are going to be darting around. Now, finally getting a little bit more scouting information. And at this point, when you see the medevac and the Hellions dropped in that early on, ShoWTimE knows that it was going to be a proxy at that point. Like, he's played enough StarCraft that he knows the timings of things and knows when something is 20, 30 seconds early. So he should also have a good idea that, you know, additional medevacs or liberators or anything else is going to come out a bit slower. So his transition to Colossus probably going to have a bit of a later reaction as well.
Yeah, and we have a very similar game to the last one, actually more or less exactly set up in the same fashion. So feeling pretty okay for ShoWTimE's chances. There is Cyclones here on the side of Clem, so those are going to be a little bit annoying if they manage to catch those Phoenix, who want to be a little bit aggressive, it seems.
Yeah, we'll see how long these Phoenix are going to be able to find little bits and pieces of value. But speaking of value, oh my god, Hellion comes in by itself and says, I'm not done with you yet. Kills off 2 workers, looking for a 3rd. Oh, the Colossus comes in. That was just an unfair ambush on the high ground. There's no way he could have known that.
Indeed, but at the same time, it also reveals and gives the information that he was looking for in another sense, where he knows that Colossi are out now, so less likely to try, say, bio pokes at this point and just fail miserably. Oh, that's nifty.
You know, that actually saves the Cyclones, though, Caps, because the Phoenix were about to pick them up, and they were so far ahead of the army. That, oddly enough, might actually work out for Clem.
You're absolutely right, because the rest of his army is here, and he is going for the... Yeah, that's the only way that those Cyclones would have been safe. I thought those Cyclones are just doomed, but now with the army of Clem here, it's getting pretty scary, and ShoWTimE choosing not to contest. There is a shield battery to retreat to, another one being added. This is going to be a tough hold, though.
Yeah, I think that Siege Tank can actually hit that newly being made shield battery, but it gets taken out by the Bioforce anyways. 1 pylon left over. That might be the last pylon as well. Colossus gets taken out. It gets a little bit misrallied on in.
Yeah, I mean, hard to call it a misrally because he's blocked off from walking down from his main.
True.
So it's all he could do was do that, but maybe he could have kept his army on that side to escort it, essentially. Instead, he was trying to go to the side like he is trying right now so that he can hit the bio without getting hit by the tanks as harshly. But it's looking very, very difficult for ShoWTimE. Now going for it, going after all the tanks, but the Phoenixes get focus fire down, and Clem is indeed going to strike back.
And 8 seconds after that game finishes, charge finally finishes, something that probably would have helped a lot with trying to close the distance there. Maybe could have helped out a little bit, but man, just really, really on point aggression there from Clem. Even in a situation with like the proxy medevac drop and everything, it looked like he shouldn't be able to get damage on, but he still found nice bits of damage. Well, guys, you know the deal. We're going to go to a short break, give these players a little bit of time to think about what they want to do as they go into game number 3. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the epic conclusion of one of the best matches of the day. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving into game number 3 here on Romanticide to settle the score between these two players. See who is going to stay in a nice spot in the group, nice and undefeated, and who is going to be dropping that first series of their group.
Yes, indeed. And it is quite a match. Romanticide is one of the most beautiful maps, I think most aesthetically pleasing, at least to me. I really like the colors. And it's also kind of a funky map. It's got a couple of traits there that are a little bit special with those rich Vespene geysers and the mineral blockers. So I do like it defensively though for ShoWTimE, I gotta say.
Yeah. Have you seen the extra gas geyser stuff come into play on this map like so far? Funny enough, I feel like I haven't seen a lot of the weirdness that seems potentially possible on Romanticide just yet.
Yeah, I think you would most likely see it from Zergs. Blythe tried actually earlier today to take a fourth on that base. But outside of Zergs, very difficult to imagine. It's not easy to apply pressure from the aggressive gases because of the minerals, so it's a little bit sketchy. Spawning in the bottom left right hand side. It is Big's ShoWTimE.
And up in the top left-hand side of the map, we have the blue Terran player. It is Team Liquid's Clem. A young lad who is very much so grown into his position in the StarCraft scene as one of those big, hopeful non-Korean players. I'm hoping, actually, not only figuratively, but also literally, because I remember it was always funny seeing Clem, this kid who looked like he was actually even younger than he really was. Because I think, we got to see him like so early on. I feel like by the time we finally finish up COVID, somehow Clem is gonna have gone through his massive growth spurt, and he's gonna be like 7 foot tall. We're just hardly gonna recognize him. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, a mustache they'll probably have at some point. Look forward.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, just have to hope that like the couple of months leading up to the first non-COVID event, that will actually we won't have him on camera for a bit. He's gonna show up. He's gonna have a super deep voice. We're gonna be like, "You're not actually Clem." Then he's gonna start playing, and we're like, "Oh my God, you are Clem."
And he's in Team Liquid sponsored by Marvel, so he could just wear a mask to stage, and then he removes it, and he has a mustache.
I like it. Well, we do have a little bit of a deviation over here. We got a proxy pylon with that Cybercore finishing on up. ShoWTimE looking to add something on, and with this location, it could be a couple of things. There's going to be Stargate, looks like.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. I'm not sure that this does cut the distance a little bit, but not like super significantly. So I'm not sure what the point of this Stargate is. Maybe to confuse Clem potentially if he was to get a Reaper in to scout or maybe later a scan. I'm not sure.
That's actually also a good point. That I don't think we've seen a Reaper this series. I guess a little bit of a move away from that and just opting to go for more Marines, which I guess does add into like better aggression in the kind of the mid-game stage. But regardless, Marines are also going to be nice for helping deal with that first Oracle, if having a few more of those instead of an early Reaper. So first Oracle gets started on up. We'll see what ShoWTimE can get done. I love the poking forward also of the Stalker. If there's no Reaper, then you can just get aggressive with that Stalker. Poke away at the hit points of those Marines. Try and get free damage.
Yeah, very cool dance here by both players, right? The Stalker is kind of baiting Clem down the ramp. The Stalker can shoot before the Marines can shoot because he has more range. So if he's paying attention, he does this and gets away with basically free damage. However, with these Hellions, they're going to be able to track down the Stalker and potentially push him away as Clem wants to move out on the map, seemingly.
Oh, he wants to body block him.
Oh, what a guy.
Look at that.
Close. He almost had it.
Oh, but that also means that all of these units are very out of position for the Oracle that comes on it. There's 0 units here and not even a reaction from Clem. He's actually just so busy microing his units.
Yeah, I mean, Oracles against Terran, they are known to not be as strong at mineral lines for the simple reason that they take 3 shots to kill SCVs compared to drones and probes where they just take the 2 shots. So he manages to get max damage, which in this case is going to be 8 SCVs, ShoWTimE that is. And now all he has to do on the other side is defend. There is no shield battery, however.
Yeah. Well, the full wall is just a little bit too hard to actually deal with. And now that the warp gate is finished up, he can get that first warp in of units. He is in such a great position economically for sure. All he has to do is make sure that he doesn't take a whole lot of damage against the first and second wave of aggression here from Clem, and I think he's gonna feel like he might have this game in the bag.
He's got to be feeling great. I mean, there's another Oracle on the way, but there's already an Oracle pulled back. So he's going to be ready, ShoWTimE that is, for Banshee with Cloak, which is another huge investment that Clem is going for. He's not taking any chances. He knows that he did enough damage back on the other side. So he's rallying his Oracles back because all he has to do is stack these units.
Oh, that's going to be so useful, just being able to tag those Banshees with the Revelation. And especially you were saying, like, two of those. Yeah, no Phoenix coming out. I actually would not mind a Phoenix, especially since, you know, Clem is that very aggressive player. He loves going for not just stuff like Banshees and everything, but, you know, he likes actually going for Liberators and whatnot. So I feel like it could be really useful. But for now, I'm okay with just the Oracles to help hold things off.
Yeah, stasis traps are going to be useful for from the Oracles as well, as this is going to be a committed 2-base aggression from Clem. He is effectively all in. These are so difficult to stop though, Ravi.
Yeah. All the Hellions getting pushed back for now, but this also kind of draws the Stalkers further out into the map. This could backfire. The Stalkers get hit. Oh, great bait. He doesn't end up getting any of the Stalkers though. He was trying to bait the Stalkers further forward while the siege up was happening and just ambush 3 or so Stalkers, but well.
Oh, the Stalkers were kind of misrallied by ShoWTimE, but they're gonna end up potentially picking one tank off. No! There's SCVs here too, so they will be repairing that tank if Clem pays attention, and now he is.
Yeah, a lot of time lost though. Remember, these Stalkers, they're here to buy time. They're here to keep this army from immediately getting in.
Yeah, with the Revelation, the Banshee's Cloak is completely useless at this point. There is a lot of Blink Stalkers, and now that Stasis Trap does get scanned, of course, by Clem as he chooses to move onto the high ground. Yet still, these Oracles are effective for the Revelation and against the Marines. They're actually gonna be really good at taking those down with the Pulsar Beams.
Yeah, Banshees actually still have their Cloak on. You can see, even though they're revealed, they are losing energy right now. So even after the Revelations are all gone, he's still gonna have vision of this, but the
ShoWTimE is a god though. He grabbed half of his Stalker army and he's using it to cut reinforcements right now, which is really the game-winning maneuver because now Clem is on borrowed time. He really has to try and make this push work with all the units, with a few units as he has rather. He's all out of SCVs. These bunkers are not going up, and ShoWTimE is very well situated with batteries behind his Nexus.
Yeah, a lot of the Stalkers go down over there, but so does this reinforcement. Still, that being said, the bunker manages to survive, and so do 2 of the Banshees. Banshees doing quite a bit of damage. Shield battery overcharge going to be popped, and we're going to end up seeing more Stalkers coming on in. Oracle's getting involved in the mix. Revelation being tagged out to keep an eye on those Banshees, but the Banshee count is actually high enough that they are able to contend with low counts of Stalkers.
And there's still the tanks, and now the reinforcements have been set free by Clem. I mean, Clem, what a brilliant maneuver. I didn't know what was going to happen there, but he unsieged tanks and pulled back Marines to escort the rest of his army back because he realized the chunk of army that ShoWTimE had shoved off was too strong for his reinforcements to ever contest. So now he has joined with the rest of his army, and he's looking mighty scary.
Oh, and all the pylons that were over by the 3rd base have been sniped off, so you can't reinforce on that bottom left-hand side. You can't try and come in with a flanking maneuver anymore. It's just the units that were still left over that ran away, which I think is like 1 Stalker and the Oracle. He's got to make this defense happen right here.
It's so difficult. Look at Clem also has made effectively a wall for those tanks. So the Chargelots are not really going to be able to get on top of them at all. The Blink Stalkers try to get there, and 2 tanks will end up falling, but that's not nearly enough.
Oh, that's going to be brutal. We see a couple more gateways coming on up over here for ShoWTimE, but he is on borrowed time right now because he's already got his mineral line somewhat sieged over here by these Marines, by these bunkers. 2 more siege tanks moving forward. Ironically, cannot get through the wall of bunkers, so they are going to be stuck there, but they're still in a safe spot.
Yeah, those Marines can, of course, get through the wall of bunkers as they can just, you know, load on one side and exit out the other. This Nexus will finally be taken down by the looks of it. ShoWTimE does have, however, Ravi, very many gateways available, so he will have a big attempt at some point at breaking this. If he can pick off those Banshees, they would be instrumental for his defense.
Ooh. That's 1 Banshee down and softens up a 2nd one. There are still SCVs over here with the push that are ready and waiting to repair those units.
Very interesting counterattack from ShoWTimE here. If he can kill all the SCVs at that natural and or cut reinforcements, he could equalize things.
Yeah, and these Zealots are going to actually go unnoticed for quite a bit of time. The siege tank actually just splash damages a lot of the SCVs as well, but the Marines up on the high ground do rally out and are going to be able to minimize those losses. Clem falls behind about 10 workers, but you know, funny enough, ShoWTimE, he's been able to keep that third base alive. He is still mining from it. It's still 2 base versus 2.
Yeah, because at some point, Clem is going to have to get rid of one of those bunkers if he wants to really effectively siege that base, right? Like with those tanks. So that is buying Clem a lot of time. However, if you do get rid of one of those bunkers, then it's free reign for the Zealots to kind of try to break you from there. So I would love to see ShoWTimE continue to cut reinforcements and then just squash this army from every which way. It's so difficult though, because as soon as he moves his army out to go for the flank, which is exactly what he's doing now, he's open to the small squads of units to trade effectively. So he's gonna use the overcharge, which is a brilliant maneuver here to hold on with a smaller number of units.
Yeah, I really like that. I also wouldn't mind if you had taken 2 workers and just mined out some of those minerals to cut down on the amount of distance he has to travel around to try and actually get in from the other side of the
He's going for another counterattack. This is the big one actually on the side of ShoWTimE. He's going into a ramp though. I don't like this. I would have much rather ShoWTimE just flank the army of Clem and come from all places to break down this contain. The bunkers look scary, but he has so very much. And if he comes from behind, he's going to have access to those tanks as well. I think that was the better call from ShoWTimE. But instead, he's going to run into a very fortified position from Clem and just brilliant positioning from the Frenchman.
I think ShoWTimE can still do it, though. I still think that he has the opportunity to try and come in from behind and shut down this contain. He's got enough army to deal with just the 4 Marines poking forward, and here he goes.
Good split on the Zealots, not to all go towards the same tank, and now it looks like ShoWTimE is going to get apps around so many of these bunkers with the Zealots, and he's going to be able to clear this army out. Clem not reacting fast enough to get reinforcements across the map in a timely fashion to deal with this, so he's effectively just going to lose half of his army here and his bunker contained.
Yeah, and a nice reminder too, as we see 8 workers going down, it's not because of counterattack on the other side of the map, even though the Oracle was poking around earlier. It was the fact that there were actually a lot of SCVs that were pulled for that attack. It was deceptive that Clem was actually even further ahead than he really was, but still maintaining a worker lead. ShoWTimE still has to do something more here.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be extremely difficult. At this point, Clem has recognized that he did enough damage and he has been on a defensive position for a while. Now ShoWTimE trying to do whatever he can with this Oracle, but he's going up against a triple orbital command whilst he has just now started rebuilding his third.
Yeah, it's not looking great for him, and it's also just the fact that he doesn't have that much tech. He's getting the Temple Archives now, and that's all well and good. He's eventually going to have Storm. He's eventually going to have some Archons and everything added in, but he's just really going to be feeling far behind in terms of his options to try and come back outside of, I have a lot of Zealots in Stalkers on +1 weapon upgrades. That's it. That's his entire game plan right now.
Yeah, this Storm is going to have to come in huge and turn an engagement around for him to even start evening things out. But Clem is kind of getting out of control right now, and he's going for a 4th base as well. So he's, I imagine, going to be aggressive pretty soon whilst expanding. So even if, the thing that we've said a couple of times throughout the day, even if he doesn't kill ShoWTimE with his next wave of aggression, he's going to be in a good position.
Yeah. Well, ShoWTimE comes in with yet another Oracle, snags 1 worker kill, forces a stim up, and just a bit of a reaction there from Clem, but not going to be able to buy too much more time there since, these 4 High Templars, they're moving forward and they're about to get Storm.
Yeah, if he can get to one of those bushes, and oh no, a Marine's going to spot them. That is so sad. I don't know if Clem was paying attention, but I think those High Templars in the bushes, that was probably just about, one of his better shots, though there are medevacs to spot for them as well. They usually lag a little bit behind.
ShoWTimE's going to find Clem in an awkward spot because a lot of his army down the map, and the siege tank count's a little too high. I think even finding the army out of position, it's not going to be enough to break him.
Yeah, I mean, you break this, but by the time the army comes back, you've already gotten your army taxed so hard by 6 siege tanks that it's not worth to engage at that point. So I think the best shot of ShoWTimE is, or would have been, to land those storms before the reveal of them. Like when you reveal a very important ability like Storm or like Blink, it's when your opponent's not expecting it yet, not accounting for it yet. And that's when you can land the stronger ones. But that 1 Marine scouting it from Clem, he's not going to push out against Storm. Instead, he's just going to secure his 4th, and things continue to look good for him.
Yeah, a couple force fields being used over here because ShoWTimE does not want to fight that just yet. Not until he has all of his High Templars here.
Oh.
But a lot of the siege tanks are not actually sieged up. Oh, ShoWTimE, he's going to still feel like he has to back off, though. And these storms mostly hitting his own zealots rather than his opponent's army. Gonna miss the opportunity that maybe he had, but even that was going to be dicey.
Yeah, I mean, Clem just, you know, masterful at just showing off 3-4 units to go and hunt for those Templars so that the Zealots have to turn around in order to just protect them. An EMP goes off, I believe, to pick off an Observer. And then a scan for good measure. Good blink forward from ShoWTimE onto small clumps of the army and the Storms to kind of zone out at the choke. If he can do this, you know, for long enough, he could stabilize.
Yeah, it's worth noting also that the location of his fourth base is very well protected on the far south side, knowing that the entire army is up over here on the north. So I like that ShoWTimE is able to buy so much time around these choke points. I actually think that is going to be favoring him. Like, the longer this goes on, the more ShoWTimE is going to be able to stabilize and get up the other units he needs. He is starting up a robotics bay as well to get up, I assume, Disruptors, maybe Colossus to help deal with these ghosts.
Yes, indeed. The Ghosts are going to be looking for those blanket EMPs. However, as Clem gets closer and closer towards ShoWTimE, one Templar will die very quick death there, but the Stasis Trap will stall a little bit as ShoWTimE is forced to recall just in order to get his army in position. The tanks are unsieged. This much might be go time for ShoWTimE, and it might just go for it. Okay, he's not going for it. Now very good feedback, so no EMPs go down. There's still 1 or 2 storms available, but the really scary thing, Ravi, is this tank backbone. Oh, wow.
Yeah, one ghost has enough energy for a snipe. It also still has enough energy to go for another EMP. If it finds it, it goes for it. Hits the Archons, doesn't quite hit the High Templars. But I think this position is so brutal still. ShoWTimE tries to go for a 4 Zealot, 2 Stalker run by over at the 4th base, but a Planetary Fortress is going to hard shut that down.
It sure is. I mean, ShoWTimE at this point maybe mine some of those minerals just so that you can more easily access a flank onto this position. Because, yeah, those ones. Because right now, just coming from one single area or even from a decent concave is going to be too difficult. And now with Liberators, that's going to enable Clem to continue to push on forward. Good storms onto the bio and then to save the Templars as well, but not enough. Yeah. And Clem is going to close it 2-1. What a great series.
What a fun